Auburn basketball is back. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Quick bonus edition of the show. Darrell Dapprich, the man, boots on the ground up in Birmingham for SEC Media Days basketball edition. Auburn wrapped everything up this morning. Of course, they've got an exhibition game tonight, which we will be live from, which is very exciting. But Darrell, overall takeaway from Stephen Pearl representing Auburn as the head coach, not BP.
Well, it's always great to cover somebody's first, SEC Media Days like that. And it was a really, I could tell that he was very excited about being there and the enthusiasm. Other people have had the opportunity to see him speak, and I think he's very polished, and I really like the way he presents himself. Couple of takeaways. He talked about his staff, what a big part his staff had in retaining that roster. He felt like retaining that roster, and that it's rare that a new coach, regardless if they take over for a coach that's family and is on the staff, keeps all 12 players. That's a big deal. He made sure he let everybody in that room know it's a big deal, and he credited his staff a lot for that. That was the first takeaway.
Okay.
Something that I found that was the most interesting thing he said was, we have already, as a basketball team, faced adversity in September. With BP retiring, people trying to figure out if they wanted to stay, trying to retain and re-recruit the roster. He said, this group of guys has faced adversity already. He said, your other basketball teams won't face any till November or December till they get slapped around in a game or whatever. He said that we've faced it already. I can tell this team's already very close and has already bonded. And he said that was a concern with all these new guys and this roster flipping. How cohesive would they be? BP retiring in September and them having to scramble and do what they needed to do. He said that there was some adversity there. Adversity for the kids, adversity for the coaching staff. He feels like they've bonded over that, and they're ahead of the game against other college programs that haven't had to face adversity. I thought that was very good and very telling.
Yeah, I love that because it's true, but that was something that the national narrative was about, is like, oh my goodness, they've got a shot to lose, whether it's Keyshawn Hall or Keyshawn Murphy or Tahad Pettiford, of course, was the biggest one because there's really no other point guard that's at that caliber, because they chose to not pursue any point guards in the portal. And a lot of people were saying, Auburn people were saying the same thing, and they held firm and they kept the roster. And so that shows a lot. So I think it's good that Steven brought that up. They were asked a ton about, just with the clips that I've seen and some of the stuff that you sent me to, Darrell, about chemistry and like other newcomers coming in and, what those relationships are like. What did the players say about the chemistry aspect of it? Because that's my biggest question about this team.
Well, I had the opportunity to ask that question of Keyshawn Murphy, and he said that the players are really, really close. He's had the opportunity to him and Pettiford have I wouldn't say counseled, but shared what it's like to play in the SEC, because it's a difference. I get it. The Big 12 is a good basketball conference. It just is. You've got some good schools. Keyshawn Hall even said, but it's different. It's going to be a step up playing in the SEC. And so Murphy and Pettiford and some of those guys and the coaching staff, that's been one of the things, is chemistry. They have, other than Jovic, who got there a little bit later, they've been practicing together for a while, and Stephen Pearl likes that chemistry. Pettiford talked about what an honor it is and a responsibility to be considered the face of the program. That now that Bruce Pearl is gone and Janai Broome is gone, Jeff Shearer asked him, you're the face of the program. He said, I take that very, very seriously. I asked him what that meant, what he worked on in the offseason. He said, I've got to be better defensively, and I'm working really, really hard. Keyshawn Hall, talking about chemistry, which was a great answer. He said that he can play multiple positions. He can play the 2, he can play the 3, he can play the 4. He said, I've been slept on my whole life. I had hardly any offers coming out of high school, and I want nothing more to prove people wrong that I could play in the highest level in the best conference and help Auburn win a national championship.
Love
very,
that.
very, very. And then Murphy was great. Keyshawn Murphy said, I asked him about playing in Neville, and he said, I have wanted to play in this arena for as long as I can remember. Interesting, because I think he's from Alabama. And then he said, it's going to be nice to be shouted for instead of shouted at. So there were some neat little nuggets between the players. Like I said, I think they all were very, very articulate, very serious. I jumped around from player to player. But it looks like this chemistry thing, and again, Jovic was the only one that wasn't there, the foreign player. So the adversity thing helped, I think, expedite that. But again, we'll see. There's a lot of new faces, Zach. It's almost a complete roster turnover. It's going to be interesting.
I've got another question that I'd like to rewind to Tahad in just a moment, as well as who did they talk about the most that wasn't there representing Auburn? That's coming up in just a moment on this special edition of Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Kia Autosport of Columbus. Summer is over, but that doesn't mean summer savings is over. Darrell, head over to Kia Autosport Columbus. You can check out all of their great vehicles, including the last remaining Kia Sorrentos. Those are all just about wrapped up. Go make sure you get a deal on yours today. Just off of Whittlesey Boulevard in Columbus, or you can go online at KiaAutosportColumbus.com. When you get there, mention, hey, heard about you guys on Locked On Auburn. That's $500 off, Darrell. $500 off any new Kia right there. And, of course, all new Kias come with free tires for life. So, once again, KiaAutosportColumbus.com, or go see them in person just off of Whittlesey Boulevard. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Alumni Hall. We all got our Auburn football Nike gear. Might be time to turn the page and make sure you're suited up for basketball, Darrell.
Absolutely. And it's getting cold. Get your hoodies, get your quarter zips, get your sweatshirts. You didn't get that for football season. Get it for basketball season. And then you double up when it gets cold in those November games at Jordan-Hare. And then the basketball games, you've got it all right there at the tips of your fingers.
3 great physical locations in Auburn, Opelika, and Huntsville, and, of course, online at alumnihall.com. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first or your second listen every single day. We may have 4 shows up today. Goodness gracious. But, Darrell, I want to go back to Tahad.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like he said all the right things. Did you get the feel that he's like a different Tahad? I mean, he talked about being, the face of the program and how he wears that badge with honor and all that, as he should. And I believe him. Did he seem different to you from a confidence standpoint, from a presence standpoint? Did we see a different Tahad today?
That's a great question. And I noticed it myself, and I was wondering if it was just something that I was maybe looking at and in my imagination. Last year, when I had the opportunity to be around him in the locker room, he seemed to always be in the background, in the shadows, right? He let other people take the forefront. He'd laugh and joke and be playing video games. He seems different. He does seem more of a leader. And Stephen Pearl mentioned that him and Tahad Pettiford had a talk about, you have an opportunity to lead men. You have an opportunity to lead this team. And what are you going to do with that? And I think he has taken that mantle very, very serious. We'll see how that translates to the court. But last year, he seemed just like a fun-loving, silly kid that wanted to play Fortnite in the locker room. At SEC Media Days, he was a little bit more serious. And he was very his answers were not anything but straightforward and serious. So I think, and then you talked about maybe who else was mentioned that wasn't there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jovic was mentioned a couple of times. I really think, I don't think he'll start tonight. I don't. I think to get acclimated to the American game, but I think he is going to be a guy that's going to be a big piece down the road. And I think Auburn's staff knows what they have in him and are very, very excited. And then Overton, who's a glue guy to me. Overton, which I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest with you, that he wasn't there. You can't bring everybody, but I get it. But he is a guy that to me would be a candidate. They talk about a leader. He is tough as nails defensively, will probably be Auburn's best defender in the backcourt. And, there was comments about him being a guy that helps with chemistry and the transition as well. I just
I mean,
consider
he seems
him.
like the pure like Denver replacement.
Yes, glue guy,
Yeah.
good defender, leads by example, will probably be vocal. Another guy that came from the Big 12. So I like him a lot. I think he'll probably, get this. It's going to be fun to speculate. I think he'll get the start at the 2 guard tonight just to kind of throw this out for fun. I think Petterford will start at the 1, Overton the 2. Then you'll have Hall. Freeman's another guy I'm here. Elijah Freeman, the D2 transfer, I'm hearing a lot about as well. Don't sleep on him. And then Murphy at the 5. So it should be interesting to see the bench all that. Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, so many question marks.
I wanted to say one other thing that I asked Stephen Pearl particularly, and I thought was very telling. I asked him, other than his dad, which is obvious, tell me any other coaches that influenced you, your style, your scheme, your game planning, made you want to get into coaching. And he mentioned Coach Forbes at Wake Forest, who I don't know a lot about, but the second one, and he kind of lit up when he talked about him, was Todd Golden. That he influenced him. And I'm never going to say who you try to emulate because you're your own coach with your own style. But you know this, Zach, when you're a coach coming up, you take bits and pieces from different coaches you played under or coached under. Then he said this. He looked me right in the face. And he said, Darrell, you know this. You've covered all. What I want to do more than anything else is be like my dad, though, off the court and in the community. That's where he said BP had the biggest impact. It's one thing with X's and O's, but he said, I really look at off the court and what you can do for Auburn University as an ambassador. And then he told the SEC Now crew up on at the podium that he feels like he's not going to go as nuts as his dad on the sidelines, that he'll be more even keel. And I ain't buying that 1 second. Stephen Pearl is very intense. Stephen Pearl likes to talk smack. Stephen Pearl will get in your face. He jumped off the bench more than Bruce Pearl did. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, I'm not buying that either.
I'm
okay with that either way. I don't think it really matters, but I don't believe that. We'll see.
Not 1 second do I believe it.
Yeah. Darrell, you're gonna be covering the game live tonight. We're going to go live here right after. And of course, we'll post the audio if you're tuning in on audio as well. Updates in the barn as well. Tell everybody what you're doing tonight.
We're going to do a live game thread. Taylor Korn and I are going to do a live game thread in the barn where you'll be able to follow along, little notes, nuggets, news, things that you can't see maybe if you're watching the YouTube broadcast streaming, observations kind of things, little things to watch. And then obviously going live. Man, I cannot believe we are going live again after a basketball game. The last time I did that, my gut was ripped out. That's right. In Florida when Clayton did the gator chomp at me, not the tomahawk, the gator chomp. So, yeah,
that's right.
So there's a lot of coverage tonight. You're going to get a lot of nuggets, a lot of inside information, and then, of course, we'll go live.
Yeah, so you can follow along there at thebarnauburn.com, and, of course, we'll go live right here afterwards. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.